All right, everyone, settle in, grab your coffee. For those of you I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, I'm Dr. Damian Wolf, and welcome to your first, and trust me, most important, Keter-class briefing. What we cover today, well, it's the very bedrock of your survival here, so let's make sure we're all listening.
Look, my philosophy is pretty simple. We can be energetic, we can be engaged, but we have to be precise. When I was drafting my 001 proposal, every single detail had to be perfect. Every contingency accounted for. That's the standard. I expect nothing less from you when you're the only thing standing between one of these things and, well, everyone else. Complacency is just not an option in this line of work.
Dr. Harleen. And she's right, the pleasantries end here. I'm Dr. Rebecca Harleen. The reason you're all sitting here is because our breach statistics are, to put it mildly, unacceptable. My job is to make sure these procedures are not just followed, but followed flawlessly. Understand me? There is zero margin for error. Okay, so here's the roadmap for this morning. We'll kick things off with a quick orientation. Then we're going to dive deep into the case files for 3 of our most challenging residents. After that, we'll compare them, and we'll finish up with the universal rules that will keep you alive. Let's get to it.
Dr. Harleen again. I'm leading the review on our first case, SCP-106. Now, from a containment standpoint, this thing is a fundamental nightmare. Why? Because traditional physical restraints aren't just ineffective, they are completely irrelevant. Its primary anomalous property just sidesteps them entirely.
And this is why. The corrosion effect. Any solid matter it touches just starts to break down. We're talking rusting, rotting, creating this disgusting black mucus-like substance. And on living tissue, it's even worse. It acts as a kind of pre-digestion. So you see, it doesn't break through walls. It simply unmakes them.
So how in the world do you contain something that can phase through walls? Simple. You don't try to block it, you try to confuse it. Its main cell is a lead-lined steel box, okay? Suspended by powerful electromagnets. But the real key is that this box sits inside 40, yes, 40 identical layers, each separated by empty space with randomly placed supports. The whole goal is to make navigating out of it a complex, disorienting puzzle it won't want to solve.
Yeah, see, this isn't about brute force. It's all about strategic deterrence. We exploit its very specific aversions. It really dislikes complex structures, so we give it a 40-layer maze. It hates sudden, intense light, so if we need to, we can flood the area with over 80,000 lumens. This is a game of psychology using its own hang-ups against it.
I need to be absolutely, perfectly clear on this point. If you or any piece of your equipment are taken by SCP-106, you are gone. You are immediately classified as missing, killed in action. We do not mount rescue operations into its pocket dimension, not under any circumstances. There is no coming back.
And this is what we do when a breach occurs. It's grim, but it is necessary. It is called the recall protocol. We take a lure subject. We injure them, significantly, to produce genuine sounds of distress, and we broadcast those sounds all over the site. 106 hunts based on desire, and the sound of its preferred prey in pain is the only reliable way we have to lure it back into its cell.
All right, let's move on. I'll take this one. SCP-682. We're shifting gears here. We're going from a predator that subverts space to one that subverts, well, pretty much everything. This thing is a living monument to raw, adaptive power and a deep, seething hatred for all life.
6. Just look at that number. 6 times this thing has successfully breached containment, and that's not even counting the 17 attempted breaches. Every single one of those incidents ended in a catastrophic loss of life and resources. It's why there's a permanent termination order on it.
So here's the crucial point. Since we can't actually destroy it, and believe me, we've tried, our entire containment strategy is built around keeping it in a state of constant, massive damage. We keep it submerged in hydrochloric acid 24/7. Its regenerative abilities are so off the charts that the acid only manages to incapacitate it. It literally regenerates as it's being dissolved.
And never, ever forget that this creature is intelligent, and it is purely malevolent. During an early interview, someone asked it why it killed several farmers. Its response, right after it mauled a D-class, was, "They were disgusting." This is exactly why unauthorized communication is strictly forbidden. You're not just risking your own life, you're risking a site-wide breach.
So, if a breach happens, the response is total and immediate. Any sign of activity, any movement, any speech is met with absolutely overwhelming force. We deploy every available mobile task force, and no team smaller than 7 members is cleared to even engage with it. It's also why we maintain a 50-kilometer buffer zone around the entire site, completely clear of all human life. The potential for devastation is just that high.
Okay, and for our final case file, we're shifting again. We move from a physical threat to something more psychological and biological. SCP-939. These things are just insidious. They're pack hunters, and they exploit one of our most fundamental human instincts, the desire to help someone who's in trouble.
Now this is where it gets really, really weird. These creatures, they lack a lot of vital organ systems. I mean, no eyes, no central nervous system, not even a digestive tract. So you gotta ask yourself, how does a predator like this function so effectively? Well, it turns out it doesn't need to see you, and it doesn't need to eat you. It just needs to get you close.
And it does that with 2 main tools. First up, this stuff, AMN-227. It's an aerosolized amnestic that it just breathes out. It's colorless, it's odorless, and it completely prevents you from forming new memories while you're exposed. This, right here, is why your Level C hazmat gear is not optional. Your seals have to be perfect. A leak doesn't just expose you to a biohazard. It makes you literally forget that you're in danger in the first place.
And this is its second, and by far its most dangerous tool. It can perfectly mimic the voices of its past victims. It will use those voices to cry for help, to sound distressed, anything to lure you in. So let me make this as simple as I possibly can. If you hear your best friend, your spouse, your kid calling for help from inside 939's chamber, no, you didn't.
This is not a suggestion. This is a life-saving directive. Every single person interacting with 939 wears 2 independent pulse monitors. If both of those monitors flatline, we assume 2 things. 1, that you are dead, and 2, that any sound that seems to come from you from that point forward is the creature mimicking your voice. We disregard that voice, and a containment breach is declared automatically. Trust your equipment. Do not trust your ears.
Okay, let's pull all this together for a second. We've just looked at 3 very, very different Keter-class entities. Understanding how they differ is just as important as knowing their individual procedures. This is about recognizing the fundamental nature of the threat you are facing at any given moment.
Just look at this matrix. 3 Keters, 3 completely different ways of operating. 106 is a patient predator, and it's driven by a twisted sense of desire. 682 is pure adaptive rage personified, and 939 is a pack hunter that uses deception. You see, they don't just pose physical threats, corrosive, adaptive, biological. They attack our very psychology. They weaponize our desire to help, our attempts to understand and communicate, and our empathy for others. You have to know the threat, but even more importantly, you have to know how it thinks.
We're almost done here. What you've just learned are the specifics for these 3, but there are universal principles that apply across all Keter containment sectors. Think of this next part as your new mantra, because for all intents and purposes, your first shift starts right now.
These are the core tenets. First, trust your equipment, not your heart, not your ears. Second, your gear is your life. Check your seals and calibrations constantly. Third, every action you take must be precise. There's no room for error. And fourth, unauthorized communication is a death sentence. As Dr. Wolf said, complacency kills. Following these rules is what will keep you alive.
So we'll leave you with one final thought experiment, a little test. You're on patrol, you pass a darkened, unauthorized area, and from deep inside you hear your own voice, perfectly clear, begging for help. What is your protocol? Think about it, because your life and all the lives around you will depend on the answer. Dismissed.